Good night, everybody. All right.
All right. Hello, listener land, and welcome to the best damn fantasy podcast for your ears. I am your host, Randall Kennedy. I am joined, as always, by the Godfather, Paul Lundegaard. You can find him at Polly Sleepers. Polly, say hello.
What's up, guys?
And the chef, Jake B. Song. You can find him at the BZBFF. Jake,
let's go, baby. What's up, fam? Let's go, baby. Let's have a good pod.
Yes, sir. As you can see, we have a very special guest tonight, someone who has recently joined us at the Undroppables, the original strategic thinker, the man on a never-ending quest for DFS knowledge. You can find him at Detroit Beastie. He is heading up our clubhouse, our foray into the clubhouse scene. He's heading up our Facebook page. He's all out there. Of course, you probably already know his work. He's a legend in the DFS world. Our own Chris Robin. Chris, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. What an intro. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm in rarefied air right now. There's no other place I'd rather be right now. So thank you. And you read my profile to a T, Randall, and I thank you.
He does his homework. He does his homework.
He really does. Yeah, thank you. That was fantastic.
Hey, brother, someone with the reputation that you have that obviously precedes you deserves that kind of introduction.
Hell yeah.
I actually I got on and made it fresh the other day just for this broadcast. So I didn't even know that you were going to read it like that. So I did my homework, you did yours, and here we are.
Well, there you go. Couldn't have happened any better then.
A note to everyone out there on Twitter: keep that banner fresh, keep that profile fresh, keep it clean, keep it popping, keep it clapping.
Yeah, man, that's your introduction to the world.
Sure is.
That's the first thing people read.
Yeah, for your new followers, and even so if you never update your profile and like your bio portion, it's just a big FU to the people who already follow you, because it's like, well, you already follow me, so I don't need to give you anything new. So always do that. It keeps things vibing.
I got Master June working on a Swift piece for me for my new profile. He's gonna be dope.
A Swift piece.
Yes.
Speaking of Swift, Chris, are you excited about the Lions' latest rebuild?
Actually, I am, and I'll be honest with you here. This morning, I woke up, I was having my coffee, and Dan Campbell he just went live for his weekly broadcast or presser, let's say, and I listened to the whole thing, every minute of it, and I have to tell you, in all my years as a Lions fan, as a East Sider here in Detroit, it just seems different this time. And again, you can knock me down or put me down and say, well, what's different from last time and this time, because they do this thing every few years. But he wasn't just like pandering to the people around him or the front office. He was just saying what he felt. And that's how the whole kneecap thing came about. He was excited. He was in front of some cameras, young first-time head coach, and he freaked out in a good way. And he spoke from his heart. He wasn't like a computer. It wasn't like written for him. He spoke from the heart, from the soul, which I agree with very much so, as I do very often as well here. But this morning he was speaking, and he said, he said, I don't know everything. I'm going to take from Deuce, who is his an assistant head coach. I'm going to take some from Anthony Lynn, and we're going to put it together. The moment that I think I know it all is the moment I have to go. I'm going to take advice and comments from everybody else, and we're going to put it together here because I believe the city of Detroit deserves it, and that's the kind of coach I want to be. And I know I paraphrased a lot of what he said, but that's what I got from it, and that's what you asked me, and I'm very excited here. Now, I know we could be here. I could talk for 3 hours about the Lions and what I think or how I think they should rebuild, but maybe we'll save that for another time. But long-winded way, Term, to answer your question, yes, I absolutely am excited about the Lions rebuild.
Well, you mentioned you could say you don't know what's going to be different. Than it's going to be different because Matthew Stafford's not there for one. This is something that we haven't talked about yet. Stafford in Los Angeles. How do you guys feel about that? Upgrade to the weapons there. This team get a massive upgrade. How do you feel about it? Because Stafford is one of those guys where I feel like you either recognize his arm talent and what he brings to the table, or you're a hater and you don't. I am a Stafford fan, and I think the Rams got a hell of a quarterback.
I agree with you. Big time.
Agreed. And the thing I think is overlooked for Stafford is his stats in the final 2 minutes before each half. That's when you want your guy firing on all cylinders, and he has a bump in every statistical category when the game is on the line. And I think with a better team around him and better pieces, and hopefully he stays healthy, he's gonna show us what he can do. He's got plenty of arm left. The guy's got several years left. I think it's great. I mean, if I was a Lions fan, Chris, I'd be really sad to see that guy go.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Goff is just hit. So I think with Detroit, he's obviously going to be able to fit the system that they're trying to build, but Stafford to the Rams, it's going to make that offense just open up so much more. Last year, Stafford had 2 wide receivers that were averaging 16.9 yards per reception. With Jared Goff, when Goff was throwing the deep ball, he only threw at 7.8% of his pass attempts. He threw a deep ball of 20 yards plus. That was 33rd out of 44 qualifying quarterbacks. Stafford is a get down the field, push it, go kind of quarterback. It's going to change the dynamics of that offense. Woods, I think his value is going to increase. Same with Kupp. They're both kind of moving up a little bit. Cam Akers, I'm all about. I think he's going to help. I think Stafford's going to come open up that running game for Akers. I think he's going to use Akers in the passing game. One guy that I'm very interested in for Dynasty buys rule right now is Van Jefferson. I think if you can go out and get him before Stafford, starts to hit him. Jefferson is a deep ball guy. He's a fantastic route runner. He's got good speed. I think Stafford's going to like this kid a lot, similar to the way he used Galladay when he first started. And I would absolutely go out and buy Van Jefferson because if something happens to Woods or Kupp, he's going to have some big-time fantasy appeal.
Nailed it, man. I love that you brought up my man Van, and that was a guy I planted my flag on last year early, and then he kind of got buried on that depth chart. But like you said, it only takes one injury for him to get some major fantasy relevance. And, that deep ball threat is there. And you're right. I mean, he's arguably, one of the top route runners in that class. But back to Stafford, man, like when he played that play with his arm falling off, Chris, you might be able to quarterback this play better than me because I'm not sure who hit him. And I can't remember who he hit in the end zone. But the guy just went down, and I mean, he looked hurt really bad. And he went over to the coaching staff, just his arm just limp off to his side, and said, "Put me in there," and went in there with one arm and threw the touchdown pass. And that right there, like, got a lot of respect from me. I mean, I know he's had some injuries, but he's definitely tough as fucking nails.
Yeah, they were. It was at home. I was at that game actually. It was against the Cleveland Browns, and I believe he hit Pettigrew in the end zone for that touchdown at that play. And this was really early on in his career because they still had the black stripes in their jersey. So this was like 2010, 2011. We're talking almost 9 or 10 years ago here, and that was like his introduction to the world as a professional football quarterback. He was mic'd up. You can still catch that video roaming around Facebook at any moment in time. It's like a replay of MASH, the old TV show. You can always find it somewhere at any time of the day. And you know, let's, if I may, real quick, just rewind back like 2 or 3 months when, you know, it was starting to rumble that Stafford, that maybe they should part ways with him. And I can't tell you how many people asked me during a live broadcast or recorded broadcast, you know, what do you think of Stafford and what do you think of the Lions moving on from him? And I thought it was a good move. It's what the Lions owed Matthew Stafford. He came here as a kid. He grew up in the city of Detroit, and him and his wife, Kelly, they're fantastic people. I don't have a bad word to say about either one of them. Stafford, he's a good man. If you know me, I place high importance in a high character kind of thing. I'm not a fan of kids dancing at the center of the field and recording it for Snapchat or TikTok here. You know, you're there to do a job. I know it's fun and all that, but you're there to do a job. And Matthew Stafford was, in all intents and purposes, the anchor, the face of the franchise for how many seasons here. And for him, for the Lions to say, hey, you know what, it's time, you know, we let you go, in a sense. You know, it's that old saying, if you guys remember, if you love someone, let them go. And that's the thing here. But in a way, it was almost kind of like a codependency thing here. The Lions are the only thing that Stafford and his wife ever knew in terms of football. That's all he knew. He came in right from college and he played until he was 31 here in the city of Detroit. He had no other experiences in terms of other organizations. He might have talked to other coaches in passing in the offseason, but nothing official here. And that's all he ever knew was the organization of the Lions. And they let him down. They really effed him. They bent him over and effed him several times. And again, I'm not a fan of how the organization has been ran over the years, but I was always a fan of Matthew Stafford and what the guy, I won't call him a kid anymore because he's a full-blown man, but
he still looks like a kid though.
Yeah. And that's all we can ever ask.
He's got that baby face
in our early 30s or 40s.
I tell you what, man, I respect the hell out of him too. And for me, going back to that play, if he does things like that, that's what gets you to have teammates rally around you, and that's what gets you to be, you know, the anchor of the team and gain your team's respect. So I think he'll gain the respect of his teammates really, really early, and yeah. And he's going to
go nuts. He's going to go nuts in LA. I mean, I don't think it's not shocking to say I fully expect him to be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy this season. I would go as far as to say top 6, top 5. I mean, it's everything is there for him to just go absolutely fucking buck wild.
I mean, he's never had a running game, and now he's got a dynamic running back to turn around and hand the ball to. To Paulie's point about the last 2 minutes, one just has to look at this year's Atlanta game and see that comeback that he led. And of course, you know, everybody comes back against Atlanta, but it was still pretty good, still pretty great. So the NFC West has kind of turned into an arms race. The Cardinals just signed J.J. Watt. I got a stat for you guys. Since 2012, the number 1 and number 2 ranked sackers in the NFL are J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones.
Ooh.
And now they're on the same team.
That's
and they, you know, the Cardinals, they've done what they had to do. They could see the division was turning into an arms race full of great quarterbacks. They went out and got another pass rusher, and they're going to get after the passer. And this division is going to be like a free for all, man. I don't know. If you gun to my head right now, I'm picking the Rams, because they just upgraded at quarterback and they were already a playoff team. And but you know, I could see the Cardinals winning this division pretty easily.
Agreed.
That's what I was going to say too. Initial reaction, it's the Rams. Just adding Stafford does so much more than people think in terms of on the field, off the field experience, leadership. But again, I'm with you, Term. Arizona can make it interesting. And again, people have talked about this for years. Like the AFC is far superior to the NFC, although, an NFC team won the Super Bowl this year. But Arizona, and my point is Arizona will be playing in a weaker NFC. They're going to be playing against the likes of the Lions, and all these other, the Philadelphia Eagles or, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, the Bears. I mean, so they might be able to rack up some wins that won't mean much in in playoff time when push comes to shove. They're like record stuffers, or, stat padders. Yeah, but like they're going to stuff their record, and they might be 11-5 and be going into the playoffs, but it might get absolutely trounced in the playoffs because of a soft regular season. But who knows? Anything happens in the playoffs. But I'm with you 100%, Term.
All right, we're gonna move the chains a little bit. I could talk about the NFC West all night. I know, and maybe that's not the direction we thought we were going to go, but that's why this is unscripted. I want to talk to you, Chris, about. I know you're a DFS guy. I want to talk a little bit about your procedures and things and how you come to terms on. I know you've been involved in building optimizers in the past, and just tell the listeners who might not be familiar with your work how you go about it, how you go about building lineups and things like that across the different platforms, and how you can help them win some cash this coming up season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could talk about DFS and building lineups till I'm blue in the face. We should go head to head one night. You talk about the NFC West as long as you can, and I'll talk about DFS as long as I can, and we'll see who's still standing at the end of the broadcast. But in terms of DFS, it's pretty simple. I break it down pretty easy where it basically every guy is given a price. There's a salary. On FanDuel, it's $60,000. On DraftKings, it's a fictitious $55,000 if I'm not mistaken, and you got to plug in your guys. And bottom of the barrel came about because everybody knows those high price studs to play. If Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, those are the guys you can't do without, but you can't stack your roster with Delvin Cook and Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams here. So I break it down and I look at it from a snap percentage. And those are easily found anywhere on earth. If you have a computer, you can find them. Pro Football Reference, anything along the line here. So you plug in snap percentage and you see how long are these guys on the field. Because if they're not on the field, they're not going to accumulate points, and nothing comes from that here. And then you look back and at a certain point, I've said it several times, early on in the season of all professional sports, it's kind of a free-for-all. You just kind of have to pick and choose because a lot of these guys, especially in like basketball or baseball, they fall into their averages at a pretty safe clip here, but you have to establish that in season, if that makes any sense. So once the season starts coming along, and I would say like week 4, week 5, that's when you can start to hammer home some of these averages. How many times does Aaron Rodgers pass a game? How many yards does he average per pop? And then you can take those numbers and then you break it down even more if you're into numbers or analytics here. How many yards does he average per completion? How many yards does he average per attempt? Those are, you might think they're the same, but they're not. Attempt and completion are two different numbers. And sometimes I think I saw Aaron Rodgers this past season. He averaged, I believe, 12 or 13 yards an attempt. But on a completion, he was only getting about 9.8 yards a completion. So there's a difference of anywhere between 3 and 4 yards there. So if I haven't lost you yet, in terms of running backs, same thing. In terms of running backs, it's the same thing. What I want to spend up for, let's say Derrick Henry, who is, I think his highest he got this season was over 10,000. Nobody's ever gotten that range aside from Christian McCaffrey last season. Even when Christian McCaffrey was out, he's still $10,500. But Derrick Henry got into that like God territory, if I might say, on FanDuel and even DraftKings, where it's like you have to is putting 10% of my salary on one person, is that doable? And I'll say yes. When the guy's getting 25 plus carries a game and he's averaging 179 yards a game, I mean, those are numbers that you can't deny that. So Derrick Henry is a no-brainer, but you look at guys like to fill your rosters, JD McKissick, Jamal Williams in Green Bay. These were guys that nobody was really paying attention to, but these were guys that highlighted bottom of the barrel every week because they were cheap. Their prices never adjusted. And JD McKissick was on the field, I believe, at his highest this season, working in tandem with Antonio Gibson for about 37% of the offensive snaps. Guy was catching 10 to 11 passes a game. That's a point, a half a point, depending on what site you play for. And it's all about looking at trends and kind of crunching numbers here. And again, I won't get into like the numbers that I crunch in the process. I have all those notes, which I'm going to send over to the professor here. But it's when you look at it from an outsider, it's looking at averages and numbers. How many rushes a game on average? Because if you look at, let's say, Kerryon Johnson, he's on the field a lot, 30 or 40% of the snaps, but he's only blocking. At a certain point, he was only getting 2 or 3 carries a game. So why would I spend up, even if it's the bare minimum? If I would spend $4,500 on Kerryon Johnson on FanDuel, it wouldn't do anything. He might be the number 1 rated pass pro or pass blocking back, but you don't accumulate points for that. It's points per attempt, or it's points per play. That's another good one as well, which is easily found because a guy like Derrick Henry or a kid like Tyreek Hill, every time they catch the ball, you can crunch those numbers, right? So Tyreek Hill, every time he catches the ball, he averages what? He averages 12 yards a catch. So that you get a point for the catch and you get 1.2 points for the yardage there. So one catch from Tyreek Hill gets you 2.2 points, somewhere in that ballpark. And if he's catching 8 or 9 balls a game, you times that by 2 and you're looking at a little bit over, give and take, 20 points in a game just on catches. And then if you add in a touchdown, I mean, this stuff just goes on and on. But quite simply, in layman's terms, it's averages and it's points per, let's say, snap. That's a real number too.
I have a question for you.
Get in there. Yeah.
And as you know, Chris, I was kind of anchoring the Undroppables DFS until you arrived, and it's good to see you, man. To be quite honest, I had a nice run in 2017 and 2018 with a couple really big hits. One catch away from the millionaire one week. I won't go into that story today. I think the guys have heard that. But 2019 and 2020, completely different stories. I couldn't get in on the trends. I couldn't get in on, when I was hitting, it was get 3 workhorse backs in your lineup and work around that. 2018, 2019, and then the pricing was a little bit different too for quarterbacks. If you remember, and you were playing DFS back then, the pricing was way, way more, generous and lenient for quarterbacks. And it seemed to me this year, by the time I figured it out, I was too late. But it seemed to me this year that for like a tournament perspective, which is what I play, the quarterback and second wide receiver and or tight end stacks were the way to go. And those were the ones that I saw hitting the big tournaments. So the quarterback paired with not the top wide receiver, but the second guy, and then or the tight end or both. Did you notice that correlation big this year? And is that something that your process, picked up on earlier than others, or am I crazy? Was that not a big deal? Or
no, it's something good that you found, but this just in, that's always been the case, stacking these guys. And again, like if you were to stack Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, everybody on earth has them. So at a certain point, if you were able to stack Patrick Mahomes with, let's say, McCole Hardman, one of those games where he goes for, 3 catches for 200 yards and he scored on each catch there, we're getting into the ownership portion. That's where you can make your money. And that's where you set yourself apart from everybody else's ownership. So when you say, stack stacking, which is it's always been the idea for me since day one. It's all from an ownership perspective. So I'm bottom of the barrel was written just for big tournaments, GPPs basically, and it's kind of evolved into cash games and smaller contests here. But when you can stack the second wide receiver with the tight end that nobody else is thinking about, and they can actually put up some points, some yardage on the field, some touchdowns, you're going to set yourself apart. You're going to bump yourself up, but that's all assuming you have the right studs in there as well, and you can build around that core. Let's say, I mean, that's a fantasy DFS buzzword is a core. Everybody uses that. It's a core. It's a stack.
Aren't you kind of hoping? Sorry to interrupt, but aren't you kind of hoping that the top target has a lukewarm week too? Like if I'm stacking Rodgers with ESB and Tanyan, I'm kind of hoping that Devontae Adams has a little bit of a lighter week, right? I mean, I spent a lot of the year too deciding like, okay, do I play Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams this week and just eat it and eat the chalk because they're going to get it? Or is this the week to fade those guys and hope that they're going to have a pedestrian game, and then 50% of the field is playing those guys, and then I've leveraged a good lineup? Is that something too?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we can do on a week-to-week basis, actually day to day, like midweek, it's week 5 and it's Tuesday. And that's something that's up to us as the player or up to us as the writer or the DFS content guy. We have to look at matchups, and then you can flip the field and you can look at some, DVP stuff, defensive players. I mean, that's nothing new either. And you can actually see the cornerbacks or the safeties on the other team. Where are they lining up, and what are their grades in terms of like a Revis, right? Revis Island. What are these other guys doing against top wide receivers? And if you go into a game where Green Bay is playing the Rams, and Jalen Ramsey is going to be on Devontae Adams like white on rice, that's a perfect week to look out. Go for Allen Lazard, go for MVS, or even go for what's the tight end's name there that scored like 12 times?
Tanyan.
So Tanyan, yeah, that's the week to like think differently from an offensive perspective per team. But we have to stay on it day to day, minute to minute, as these matchups are made available to us, and in terms of the price. So week to week, a casual player, they don't care. Green Bay could be playing on the moon against the NBA Space Jam people, and they're still going to start Devontae Adams. Knowing that Devontae Adams is going to get locked up, but people they don't know better, so they take that and they get pressed down while we can stack elsewhere from the same team, knowing that Lazard and MVS is going to be freed up while Devontae Adams is kind of taking up space on the sideline this week. So it's all a different perspective, and it all varies week to week per team, per matchup. I mean, it's a very thorough thing we have to do, and a lot of people don't really want to get into it. That's why they turn to you, Paulie, or they turn to me or the Undroppables here for us to do the work. I've always said that, let me do the work, you reap the benefits, and I'll do the work, and I'm cool with that.
BZ, you look like you want to get in here.
Well, so I've not been a very good DFS player at one bit whatsoever. I've got no claim to fame here. So I'm going to come at this from just a little bit different. So I'm a rookie. I'm brand new. I'm coming on. I just met you, and I started reading some of your stuff, and I want to know give me like 2 good solid pieces of advice for people that are just starting up in the DFS game.
That's a great question, BZ.
And I have a good answer, hopefully, that you takes kind with you here. So if you're just starting, I would say maybe take it easy with the big tournaments. Those, in most cases, that's like a lottery ticket. You probably would have better luck going to the gas station and buying scratch offs. Start slow and start off with smaller cash games. I built they call it a bankroll. You deposit money and you build your bankroll, right? So I started this in NBA, believe it or not, where I played. They're $1 or $2 a piece. Only 3 people in a contest. You get 3 people or 5 people. They're $1 a piece, and I played in 100 to 150 of them a day. right? So you're looking at $200 in entry fees, but it was small enough where you only have to worry about beating 2 people. So in that case, it's chalk city. You pick all the chalk and you only have to worry about 1 or 2 guys in your lineup that you need to pop. If one of those guys that nobody else has scores a touchdown, you're going to win the contest, albeit it's $2.70 or $5.40. But if you play in 100 of those, that adds up. You're looking at $1,200 to $1,300 a night, just based on $100 to $150 in entry fees. So in all honesty, that's probably bad advice. If you're starting new, don't blow $150 a night. Start slow. And but play in those small man contests. Put $10 in, play $5 a day for a minute, right?
So like double ups and things like that.
Yeah, double ups. Or I can't tell you how important I find, again, those smaller 3-game or 3-man contests, 3 and 5-man contests. It cuts the risk way down, and you only have to do this much to win anything. You only got to beat 2 people. And as you start, and again, that's part of the thing here. Everybody, Paulie, I don't know, everybody would email me and says, well, I want $1 million, or I want to win $10,000. I'll pay you to win me that money. It doesn't work like that. Everybody has their own process. And the faster you can get in the trenches and figure out your own process, that's the faster you'll start winning. My process is my own. I can only do so much to write about it, to tell people about it. But ultimately, it comes up to you as a first timer or a long timer. What process are you using? Because once that happens, the handcuffs are off. You're not a baby in a bassinet anymore. You can do what you want, enter what contest you want. And it starts with betting small and entering small contests. Failure. I've failed so many times in DFS, but it's turned into all these tips and tricks that I have, where it's kind of like, you've seen everything and you know how to react to this and that. So start small and enter really small contests. You're not going to make any headway in a 100,000 man contest, although it's $1 single entry. You're not even going to have a chance. Start slow, Beezy.
Yep, got you.
I'm with.
I would say too that there's
I
casual.
don't play very much DFS. Never have, but something that I was successful on this year, that was new this year, was and I played on DraftKings. I didn't do FanDuel. Was the snake draft thing against 2 other people where you draft your team? Did you play any of this? Did you guys play any of this?
No, I did a lot of showdowns though. That was something that I didn't like in the beginning, but I liked. I know what you're talking about. It's like a fantasy draft, but it's a DFS daily draft with a few other people. I did not do that. Did you do any of that, Chris?
I did not. I'm a simple man. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. Just give me, a regular contest. I get the idea. I mean, how many times in our life, boys, have we done a snake draft? I could do it with my eyes closed, blacked out, hanging, upside down from my basement. It just doesn't interest me from a DFS perspective, because it's like, I don't know. I just don't find it fun. I think,
well, boys, what interests me from a DFS perspective? Winning money.
Well, I was going to say too, to answer Beezy's question, when you're starting out, if you do want to get into some of the bigger tournaments, it'll on DraftKings anyway, they have casual tournaments that while you're new and starting out, until you win enough money, it's going to. Did Beezy almost fall out of his chair?
Yes,
I think so.
So
they have contests for.
I'm so sorry, Paulie. I almost just shit my pants.
You can play casual, and you're playing against. You're not playing against the experts. They've kicked us out. Like, they won't let Chris and I play casual anymore. So you're playing against people at your skill level, and you can play for $1 or $3, and they're entries of 5,000, 10,000 people, and it doesn't take much to cash. So, if you bet $1 or $3 or $5, it's pretty easy to get that money back. And then you can win a lot of money too. The casual tournaments.
Yeah, it's actually called for the non-experienced players. And Paulie's right. Well, I'm not even allowed anywhere near those.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Sorry. I just texted Polly like 10 minutes ago and told my chair was broke.
Yeah, and then you proved it.
I did.
Oh man. Wait, I just got a text. We're live here, folks.
Yes,
It's unscripted. Beezy's chair's breaking.
Beezy's chair's breaking and
I
Terms is frozen.
I froze my video. I cleared my video so I could laugh without ridicule, and I stopped my cam, and it should be going again now. It should be recording. Am I frozen or something?
You're frozen.
Yeah. Are you an ugly? You know, I've heard of people that are ugly criers. Are you an ugly laugher? If that makes any sense.
I don't know. I'm pretty ugly anyway, so
he's a handsome laugher.
Unfreeze your camera and let us be the judge of that term.
I don't know how to do that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Beezy's chair's broken, my camera's broken.
Okay, moving the chains, folks.
This is a free for all.
Moving the chains.
They can still hear us, so.
Okay, let me get. Do anybody have any questions for DFS? Our DFS guy, Term. You got anything?
No, I think we've allowed Chris to cover it pretty well here.
I just real quick, if I may, I just want to say thank you for having me, bringing me along here. I don't know how many people know the story, so I won't drag it out. All through the spring and summer and even into the winter, a few of you would make comments like, we'd love to have you here. And I didn't pay any mind to it. And then finally, I believe Jax and Reedy said it, one too many times, and it kind of it planted a bug in my head. I told Reedy I want to explore this. Fast forward to now, and here we are. And earlier Tommy said on our broadcast on Clubhouse that he thinks of me as a very cold and like everything I do has a reason, and I've never thought of it that way. No one's ever told me that, and I appreciate that. So I guess you never know how people look at you or think of you. We all have this our own personal mystique in our head, and it could be completely crazy, completely false until someone says it here. And I really did want to be with you guys and join you guys here, and I can't thank you enough for bringing me on. And again, I felt like such a loser like a month ago when I came on. I had nothing to do. The in season is over. There's no DFS to be had. So it's kind of the, where I'm at now, and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, I'm kind of finding my way with you, all the personalities and all the platforms. I'm finding my own way as we go along. But as long as the willingness from all you and the open-mindedness from me is there, I'm willing and able to do anything that I can to help move this thing along until I'm able to, get back into what I love most, DFS. So thank you so much. It's so fantastic. I'm so excited, if you didn't know, to be with you guys at the Undroppables.
Well, what I appreciate is that you're not just sitting there like, well, I really don't have anything to do right now. You've hopped on and you're going to help us get our Facebook brand going, because a lot of us don't get on Facebook. So that needs help. And I think you've already, give it a good resuscitation. And then by kind of quarterbacking our Clubhouse, which is that iPhone only, I guess. I don't know. I'm Android.
Yeah.
So me and Chalk
and me.
And Beezy, there's some of us that aren't even allowed in your club. But the Clubhouse is all the buzz right now. I mean, everybody's talking about NBA Top Shot and Twitter Clubhouse. So it's nice that you're able to realize that, hey, I can do something. And those are two avenues that are going to bring us more exposure and just be good.
Yeah, and again, as I was sorry, BZ, as I was saying is, it's kind of a get in where you fit in. There's certain things that I don't do well, and I don't act like I do them well. I'm not a big analytics guy. Do I watch film? Sure, but it's for fun. I'm not highlighting players and doing all that. I know where my bread is buttered, and that's DFS, and that's broadcasting, talking into a microphone, trying to say some intelligent stuff. That's what I do. So why would I put on like a false like a false persona. People will eat you up in 2 seconds if they know they can spot a fake in 2 seconds. So why would I even want to go that route? So I know what I'm good at, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on. And I'm so thankful you guys have just, welcomed me in with open arms, and you're letting me, be free, letting me explore this stuff. So thank you.
No doubt, man. And like I said, I've always had a respect for you and your game. We've kind of, been back and forth for a little while now. We've had combos, and, again, this is what the Undroppables wants to do. We want to expand the brand. We want to bring you as much information as we can. And we're doing that by bringing you one of the best DFS guys in the game. And we are lucky to have you, my dude.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. It's always nice to be welcomed where you are, right? I mean, that's therapy 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say the brand got a lot stronger when you decided to come on board.
Absolutely.
Can everybody hear and see me now?
Absolutely. And if I may say so, there's a lot of people that are podcasting, doing live videos, and they're by themselves or they're with other people, and there's no chemistry there. It's kind of, it's forced, it seems fake, and it makes me uncomfortable. Some of this stuff is cringy. No one off the top of my head, and I don't think I'm not the kind of guy that would call out people and say your show sucks. It's uncomfortable here. But what I'm getting at, my point here, is everything it just flows. Everything is smooth here, because I've been an outsider looking in from you guys for a long time, and everything just seems you guys have fun, you joke, but you're serious. You know what you want to do, you have some goals, and you know how to get there. So when I came in, there wasn't a feeling of, oh my, I'm uncomfortable, our personalities are clashing. It was like things went off without a hitch, and that might be a little bit egocentric of me to say that I came in and nothing changed, but I can only speak on what I know, and things have it's been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, man. So glad to have you on. This is an awesome little run through of DFS for us. But I think it's time, if we all got up, we got to move some chains, don't we, Paulie? Oh, you're on mute, my dude.
Paulie,
you're on mute.
You're on mute, Paulie.
Yeah, what are you excited coming up for with the NFL draft and free agency and things like that, man?
Yeah, but first, I do have to go. I got to get this out because it's been getting at me all night here. Did we see the Vikings release Kyle Rudolph?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we did. And we also, I know what you're getting at, BZ.
Oh,
go ahead and say it.
Irv Smith to the moon, baby.
I mean, we have been a fan of Irv Smith collectively on this show for a while. I would say BZ's probably been the biggest Irv Smith guy, but we've all said the minute that Kyle Rudolph is out of the picture, Irv Smith, like you said, to the moon. We advised you to go out and trade for him, get him, stash him, keep him, don't let him go. It's we like to say wheels up. It's wheels up on Irv Smith. And I mentioned before we came on the air, now is not the time to just drop Kyle Rudolph. Keep Kyle Rudolph. Go get him, trade for him, stash him. Kyle Rudolph can still play.
No, he's going to go to a team like the Colts, pick him up,
or New England.
Texans, New England. There's a lot of tight end starved teams that are going to pick him up, and he's still a red zone beast. Yes. Sticky hands. So it's really good news for both of those guys. And I tweeted out today, picking up Irv Smith and acquiring him up until today has been how to dynasty. So hopefully you've got all that in line and you were smart enough to make your moves last year and during the offseason because you knew Kyle Rudolph was going to be leaving.
And real quick, Kyle Rudolph is I love Kyle Rudolph. He was a enormously successful punt play at tight end for DFS formats all season. You could plug him in at low cost, and all he needed was 2-3 receptions, and he hits value here. And if he scores a touchdown, bam, you're automatically in money there with such a cheap player like that scoring a touchdown. So I've always been a big Kyle Rudolph fan, and it's only because he's a bottom of the barrel all-star, and he's one of my favorite punt plays of all time.
It's a position where you want that,
Chris.
It's a position where you want that touchdown equity, and he just shines in the red zone.
You mentioned something about equity, return on investment. I hear this all the time for DFS players. Paulie says this all the time. He only needs 1 or 2 catches to make a return on your investment. He's so cheap. Explain that to someone, to a novice who doesn't play DFS. Explain return on investment.
Sure. So I'm not good at math, but I can give you the formula, and I'll write it down as I'm going here. So let's say the bare minimum for a tight end or any player, I believe, on FanDuel was, $4,500. So let's write that down, $4,500. And so if you look at that, it's from a points perspective. If Kyle Rudolph, all he needs is, let's say, I believe 7 or 8 points to hit 2 times value. So if you can put a lineup together that stays getting 2-3 times value, or they say 2-3x value, then you're going to win. A guy like, as I said, I hate to keep bringing him up, but Derrick Henry, he's $10,000. So he needs to put up 30 or 40 points to have value. But he was doing that. But from a cheaper perspective, like Gabe Davis in Buffalo or Darnell Mooney in Chicago, these kids were very cheap all season. So on FanDuel and even DraftKings, it's a point per reception. So 3 catches is 3 points plus the yardage. So all you have to do is look at the points that they've scored, and then you divide it. I believe, help me out here, Paulie. I believe you divide it by how much he was, to the decimal point, and you'll get out. It'll say 12.7. So he's hit value 12.7 times over, and that's an easy way to win, or to get any sort of cash here.
Right. And on DraftKings, if you're playing cash, you want like 3x, and if you're playing tournaments, you want 4.5 to 5x. And you want your upside plays. So if you're playing cash, you want the high floor guys,
the safe guys. Yeah,
you want the high floor guys if you're playing cash and heads up, and if you're playing tournaments, you want the high ceiling guys, and that's where I call it lightning in a bottle. So if you're picking a lineup of a ton of high ceiling guys, you need most of those guys to hit close to their ceiling to win your tournament. You can play all season long and 1 week make all your money back and then some. And that's usually, what I used to do. I haven't had those hits the last couple of years, but there for a while, that was kind of how I would play. Most weeks I would lose, but then boom, week 7, I just have this optimum, awesome lineup, and I've got it everywhere, and I've got it in the millionaire, and I enter, $150 and win 4,000, or whatever. And that makes up for everything. So, there's different ways to go about it. The smart way is to play cash. But I've never been smart. I'm always going for the big. Going for the big ones.
If you're a big if you're a big GPP guy, you can put in, $100 on GPPs, and then everybody throws around, well, I'm hedging my bets. Well, the reason behind that is if you put $100 on GPPs, you hedge your bets by putting, $50 on small cash games, because that's easy. I mean, you could do that in your sleep. So no matter what, if you don't win a dime in your GPPs, you can count on at least getting your money back in the cash games, double ups and other smaller cash games.
That's a smart strategy too.
That's the idea behind, hedging your bets. Just one of a million different ways to play DFS tournaments and such.
Well, man,
we were talking about Kyle Rudolph to the Patriots. Dan, Al Sabermetrics is in our chat, and he mentioned that there were trade talks for Rudolph in 2019 to the Patriots. So that's probably somebody that Bill is looking at.
Yeah, I actually mentioned that on the tweet with hang on to Kyle Rudolph. That they were trying to trade for him before he signed an extension in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's huge. He's going to go somewhere and be
It's going to be great. He's going to be serviceable. He's a great blocker. He's a high character, high motor guy, and he is what he is. He's not going to be Travis Kelce or Rob Gronkowski, but that's cool. I love Kyle Rudolph for who he is.
Yep.
So we're 2 weeks away from this thing really exploding. Free agency, and then next month is the draft. Man, I can't wait. This is actually, if you listen to Ryan McDowell, he will tell you this is his favorite time of year when it's roster building and trading, and this has come to be like my favorite time of year. I love it. I know we all do, or we wouldn't be here. Chris, we really appreciate you stopping by tonight and dropping the knowledge on the folks. I want to invite everyone to come back next week, where former NFL safety Eric Crocker is going to join us.
What?
He played for the 49ers, played for the Jets.
What?
He's going to talk about some analytics and the effect of fantasy football on real life football. Should be a blast.
That's exciting to me, is what he wants to talk about. He tweeted out, I'm so interested in what analytics has changed and brought to the table for NFL. I'd like to, get on some of y'all's podcasts and talk about it. And I guess that's how you hooked up, right? You just entered that tweet and said, bring it on. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I sent him a direct message and said, man, we would love to pick your brain and have you come on and talk with us. And he said, yeah, man, let's make it happen. So we did, and we are, and I'm super excited about next week. I know you guys are.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Real quick, earlier today, before the Unhouse on Clubhouse, I just popped in another one, and Darius Butler, if you guys know who he is, he played cornerback, and then they moved him to free safety. Drafted by the Patriots. He played for Carolina and the Colts. He was in the chat for about an hour, and he was just letting me personally and some other people fire off questions to him, and he was smart as a whip, witty, and he had a ton of things, like smart stuff that he wanted to discuss, and he was mentioning the same exact things, how analytics and how people are lining up, are changing the games from a DB perspective. And maybe this is better suited for off air here, but we followed each other when that happened. I'd love to reach out to him and see if he'd want to join us one evening as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, 100%. So, like I said, Chris, we appreciate you stopping by. I won't read the bio again, but if you should follow him if you want to win some money at Detroit Beastie. You can find him on our Facebook page. You can find him in the clubhouse if you have an Apple phone and you're an inferior person and you like Apple products. Until next week, when, like I said, we're joined by former NFL safety Eric Crocker. Remember that the best fantasy discussions, and this one in particular, was definitely
Unscripted.
I don't